Transform this into this. Hi, my name's Hayward. I'm head baker here at The Big Bakes, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this Arty cake in 4 easy steps. So I've got my 4 6-inch sponges here. I've chosen to go for a rainbow interior just to be in keeping with the Arty vibe. So I've got blue, green, yellow and red. So I've got my buttercream here that I'm going to transfer to my piping bag now, so just to make the filling stage a bit easier. So I've got buttercream now on there and I'm going to spread it with my palette knife just to the edges. I'm going to repeat this same stage for the rest of the cakes. And then I'm going to go in with my crumb coat, which is just a thin layer of buttercream around the entire cake to trap in any of those crumbs to stop them from transferring to our final layer. So I'm just smoothing this with my palette knife to start with, and then I'm going to go in with my cake smoother. And this is just our crumb coat stage, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So once we've got this smooth, we're going to get it in the fridge to set and move on to our fondant decorations. So I've got my fondant here for the decorative elements. I'm going to show you how to do some of the splatters. So to start with, I've got some coloured fondant that I'm just going to roll out, not too thinly. You want to be able to pick it up. And then you're just going to take a small sharp knife and do any sort of shape. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. So for the paint tube, start with a sausage of white. And then what I'm going to do is taper down one end, trim it off. And then what I'm going to do is roll it up to look like a tube of paint. And then we're going to add the neck of the bottle. So that's just a bit of extra fondant that we're rolling into a small sort of tube shape. And then I'm going to make a hole. And then to make it look like the paint's coming out of it, just roll it into a sausage. So I've got a pencil as well that I've made. So this is just a thin sort of cylinder of fondant that I've cut at the edges, and then I've given it a sort of wooden look at the end. So that's just a bit of white coloured fondant that I've rolled into a cone shape, and then a tiny little bit of the pink that just goes for the end of the tip of the pencil. So I've got a paint palette right here. So I've started off with some wood coloured fondant, some brown and yellow that I've mixed in with some white to achieve my desired shade, and then I rolled that out, cut it into a palette shape, and then I stuck on circles of colour. So we've got a paintbrush right here as well. Black fondant that I've started with. I've actually tapered one end, you don't have to, that's just my choice. And then I've gone in with a bit of grey fondant to go over this part here. And then the bristles, I've just got a bit of white fondant that I've then textured with a small sharp knife to look like the bristles of the brush. So for the easel, I've got again the same wood coloured fondant that I used for the palette, and then I just cut it into little sort of planks of wood and then assembled that by sticking it together with a little bit of water. I applied it to the cake, and then I've gone on with sort of the canvas, which is just some white fondant that I rolled out into a square and then trimmed it to size, and then you can put any sort of painted or splattered design on there. It really is up to you. Okay, so now we've got our crumb coat on there, that's set up nicely, and we're going to go in with our final coat of buttercream. So that's a thick layer all the way around. So again, I've got my cake smoother, holding it at a 45-degree angle. If you try to go around in one continuous turn, then you get as little sort of joins as possible, and it gives you a much more smooth, uniformed look. If there are any areas that you see that need filling in a bit, like I can see around here, down at the bottom as well, you can just take some of that excess buttercream that we've scraped off and go in and fill that in just there. And then you'd go around again with the smoother. I'm going to do a slight spiral, so I'm just going to hold the tip of the palette knife in the center, light pressure, and then just turn the turntable. So we're going to get this set and then we're going to add our decorations. So we are now going to add on our paint splatters and our other decorative elements. Gently going to press the fondant cutouts into the cake. You don't want to press too firmly, but just enough so that it sticks. I'm going to add my paint bottle, pencil as well, and then finishing it off with the paint palette into the cake. And then you can just use a stick at the back to prop it. Got some red fondant that I'm just going to make look like a splatter, just so that the paintbrush can stick into it. So you can really get creative, adding anything you like, paint splatters, pencils, canvas at the side. It's really up to you. It's a really fun, creative one. And there you have it, an Arty cake. Subscribe for more recipes, tips, and baking joy.